Okay, everybody, great. So we're live now. We're on record. We're doing a quick screen share. Want to thank all of you for attending the very last Marketo Manufacturing user group for 2018, just as we're on the cusp of 2019. My name is Michael Tucker. I'm the Marketo user group leader for manufacturing. I'm joined today with a whole group of wonderful marketing technologists and marketing automation experts that are here to be able to kind of share their experiences and for all of us to talk a little bit about what's happened in 2018 and what's ahead in 2019. And I think collectively with all of our different experiences, I think we're in for a good discussion today. Joined with me is our ambassador for the Marketo user groups, virtually, all the virtual ones. So that's us in manufacturing, the healthcare user group, and the Microsoft Dynamics, the Marketo user group for Microsoft Dynamics. Taylor Enfinger. Taylor, say hi.
Hey, everyone.
Okay. We have Jennifer Morris from Lennox International. Wave to the crowd. And Ryan Worden, who's from Sealed Air Corp here in Charlotte, and Carissa Russell, who's in charge of the Marketo instance at Current by GE. So I think we're all in for a real treat. We'll go into some details, and everybody will get a chance to talk a little bit more about their respective roles and their businesses and what they're doing with this wonderful platform that we call Marketo. So the first thing that we're going to do really quickly is go into some group rules, talk a little bit about the user groups in general. I think we have a lot of people who are brand new to user groups in the instance on the call today. I want to talk about some new and some upcoming events that are happening. Talk a little bit about what we're going to do in the manufacturing user group in 2019. And we hope that all of you will come back and participate and attend. And I want to hear from you all today, too, as part of the discussion. So this is not a webinar. We want everybody who's on the call to be able to ask questions and jump in if they have questions and chat with Taylor, who will be manning the chat room while we're having this discussion. We'll do a roll call. We want to hear about you. And then we'll jump into the discussion and then with the panelists and then a couple of different topics. And then talk about the group discussion from all of you. So let's get into it. So the first thing, again, I'm Michael. I've already talked a little bit about this. I'm a marketing technology consultant. So companies hire me to help work on their Marketo instances for projects big and small. And so we'll jump into Taylor. Just say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so hey everyone, I am a 3-time Marketo champion, Salesforce certified admin. Also have my MCSA with Marketo, and I've been in the platform now for a little over 6 years. And I'm actually this has been updated since I'm now a director at the new technology. So been working with them for almost 4 years now and doing a lot of cool work with large enterprise B2B companies. And currently I'm working abroad for the year, doing a program called Remote Year and kind of getting to travel around a little. So excited to be part of this virtual group.
Very cool. Okay, thanks, Taylor. Okay, so just quickly, want to make some context for everybody who is on the call about what a Marketo user group is. So the first thing, our user group is not run by Marketo employees. I'm not an insider. I don't work for Marketo. Nobody on this call is, that's a panelist on this call, works for Marketo. So we don't have any insider information and don't claim to, other than the fact that we work on Marketo quite a bit between all of us. So very interested to talk about the platform and learn about the platform, but we're not Marketo. So keep that in mind. It's not a sales environment. So, happy to have people from the sales function on the call and people who have been presenters in the past too. But those presentations have always been around learning and understanding the tools that they provide in the community, because those offer a valuable service. But it's not at the end of the day to close a deal, and none of you will or should you get a sales call or an email afterwards. And if you do, please contact me about that, because Marketo corporately and I myself as a user group leader we want to make this a learning environment first. And if we all learn, we all win. So it's also not a webinar. So the panelists and the presenters that are here, again, we all work in Marketo quite a bit, but our answers aren't necessarily the right answers for you and your business. So keep that in mind, and understand that sometimes if a question comes up, we collectively may not have the answer between all of us, and in which case, we'd love to hear from you or anybody else in the community who does have the right answer, because one of us is not smarter than all of us. So that's always an axiom that I live by with my clients, and it's also, I think, what works really well for a community discussion here. But what we are is we're welcoming. So, if you have an interest in Marketo, we want you to join us, especially if that interest is in a business in the manufacturing sector. I think it's a relatively growing and a thriving sector, especially for marketing automation. And so we have a lot of interesting and cutting edge discussions that come out of this group, and that's definitely going to be the case in 2019. It's prescriptive, not subscriptive. We talked a little bit about that before. So again, we're sharing our experiences and some of the learning lessons that we've gone through individually and collectively. Again, your situation may be completely different than anything that we have in our respective organizations. So take it as such, and if you have or need more information, post it in the chat in the user group community. And again, it's a community, so it's collaborative. All of you are invited to participate as well. And if you haven't found a user group, if you go to nation.marketo.com, log in, at the very top of your screen, one of the menu options will be user groups, and that'll show you all the details about how to find a user group in your area, and also our online user groups that we mentioned before. Simply user group values. So this is for a meeting yourself. This is a safe space. There is no such thing as a stupid question in this discussion. And so you can ask a question. If it's a brand new question, if you're new to the platform, ask it. We'd be happy to answer it. No judgment. We'll be pausing the recording during the discussions so that you have a chance to be able to ask some of those questions without necessarily having it recorded and broadcast afterwards too. So it's more important that we teach one person than we broadcast this out to 50,000 people. It's a collaborative environment, so we've already touched on that quite a bit. It's a fun, enjoyable atmosphere. Those of you who know me or have been to a user group with me know that I'm a little bit of a joker sometimes, and I don't mind, kind of punning around people. But at the end of the day, it's also a professional environment. So, I'm about results for you, I'm sure, and that's what we're trying to produce here is something where you can say, I invested an hour of my time coming to this meeting. I learned something from it that I can use in my business, in my job, and in my career. Okay, upcoming events. This is the calendar for all of the different upcoming events in the month of December for the Marketo different user groups. I suspect there's more than one user group leader that is on this call. If you are on the call when we do a roll call, just identify yourself. And at the end of the call, if you'd like to learn more about one of these meetings, just flag me and I can set up a breakout room for anybody who's interested in meeting their local user group leader. The Fearless Forum is a newsletter that Marketo puts on. I think it's every month now, and it's Matt Zilli is on Marketo's leadership team who's running that. But there's also a lot of really great articles from Marketo champions. Brooke Bartos is somebody who had an article about how she got started in Marketo and kind of moved and pivoted into a marketing career. So really great nuggets of knowledge that are in there, and highly recommend you dive into that. And this is a link at the bottom of the page about that. I want to talk about the roadmap for 2019. So our next year is going to be a little bit different than what you saw in the first year. We want to be able to kind of balance out a lot of our topics, and we'll be talking about topics around industry knowledge in the manufacturing space specifically. What are some of the best practices that you've seen within the Marketo platform? How are you using some of the features and functionalities in Marketo? If you go to our last event in October, Carissa Russell, who's one of our panelists here, had some really great insights on how to use segmentation on the platform. And so we'd like to get more content like that. It's part of the reason why we have her back today, and she's graciously accepted. And in customer success stories, which really is today, is all three of these people are leaders in the Marketo platform and champions in the Marketo platform in their respective businesses. And so you'll learn a lot from that. One last thing that we're doing here is we're launching a new initiative. This is something that Jessica Cow at Digital Pie, myself, who am I thinking here? Sydney Mulligan from Atumos, and Christina Zeniga, who runs the Santa Barbara Mug, are starting up a book club actually in 2019. Our first meeting's in January. It's a little bit of a private meeting at the moment, but we will eventually like to take this out and basically set it up so that we're reviewing different types of learning materials that are coming out. And our first one is going to be from Bill McDermott, Warner's Dream. Bill was a keynote speaker at Marketo Summit this past April. So should be an interesting discussion. And you can email me. I'll have a landing page up for this one shortly if you want to be able to get a copy of the recording of that when it comes out at the end of January. Okay, and now let's dive into a roll call. And if we could go through the list of different panelists or different people, not panelists, excuse me, different people who are on the call right now, just to kind of get a sense of who you are, what your job title is, the company, your location, and how you use Marketo. So just for a second there, and let's dive into it here. So Bonnie, can I pick on you first?
Sure. Can you hear me this time?
I can. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hi, Michael. This is Bonnie DeGrood. I work at Jostens in Minneapolis. I'm a principal project manager. I work in IT, but I've got previous experience in marketing, which is why I was actually put on the Marketo project here. We've got a little bit of catch up that we've been doing, integrating it into our business. And so I'm working with 2 marketing people, basically laying out the strategy and where we're going with this. I had not known about digital marketing prior to being put on this project. And so I've been trying to learn as much as I can through mug groups, webinars, and a lot of reading. So I'm very much looking forward to everything I can learn.
Excellent. Great. Well, thanks for coming in. Kevin, let's jump to you next, just quickly.
Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Weisenberger. I'm a supervisor at DaVita. We're a healthcare company, so a little bit foreign to this group, but I've worked with Michael a few times, and I'm the co-leader of the healthcare virtual mug, so a quick shout out to anyone that wants to join some of our meetings. And I'm an administrator for our enterprise platform here.
Great. Okay. And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Give me a second. Let's go to Jeff Q.
Hi there, Jeff in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and you pronounced it correctly. Thanks. I would define myself as a marketing operations consultant. It's what my LinkedIn profile says, but I've just come off a contract long at SAP under Bill McDermott. And Steve Lucas, actually, and Miki Yamamoto both used to be closely involved in the teams I was working on. And because SAP uses Marketo internally, it's not public knowledge, but probably is now.
Okay, great.
And so I'm offering I do Marketo consulting and marketing automation consulting.
Okay, great. Karen, let's go to you.
Karen Hill. I'm a marketing production specialist. I work for MAPI, which is an alliance of manufacturers, the very large manufacturers. We provide executive education. I'm just outside of DC. I can actually see it right out my window in Arlington, Virginia. And I am the administrator for our Marketo instance, and I am still learning. Been doing it for less than a year.
Okay, great. Megan McLendon.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm with Dixon Hughes Goodman. I'm based out of Charlotte, but I actually have recently moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm the product owner for Marketo for our firm. So essentially all training and questions and strategy all runs through me.
Okay, great. Sean?
Hi, I am Sean Price. I am our marketing technology manager for Construction Specialties. We're a global manufacturer of architectural building products. So we've been using Marketo for well, we've owned it for 5 years, but we've been using it a little more successfully over the last probably 2 to 3 years.
Okay, great. Correct me if I'm mispronouncing this. Carissa?
Carissa, you did say that correctly. Thank you. Hi, so I am the marketing product engineer on the team. My company is Misumi USA, and we manufacture a variety of mechanical components from shafts to linear guides to bushings to actuators. And I am also an MCE. We use Marketo for a variety of things, email automation, and we are in Schaumburg, Illinois. And I also have the marketing automation manager, Shamia. She's also on the phone if you want to get her to do a roll call.
Yes, very much so. Go on in.
Thank you, Carissa.
No problem.
So my name is Shamia Abraham. I'm the marketing automation manager for Misumi USA, as Carissa said. We're outside of Chicago, in Schaumburg, Illinois. And I would say that I am definitely, well, I'm also a Marketo certified, Marketo certified expert, and I would say I'm probably a strategist / I'm new to the role here at Misumi, but I have been Marketo for about 5 years in my previous role.
Okay, great, guys. Well, thank you all. Have I missed anybody? I mean, obviously, except for the panelists who will have some time to go into themselves. Has anybody else not had an introduction here? Wait, I am missing Jeff Smith. Go ahead, Jeff. Jeff, can you hear me? Okay, I'm not sure that his audio is in.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Yes.
Oh, great. Sorry about that. Hi, guys. Jeff Smith I'm an enterprise account executive. I actually just started at Marketo about a month ago and work with a lot of great customers in the Charlotte area. So I'm excited to be on. It's my first time just listening and love hearing customer stories. And most recently was with enterprise content marketing company, NewsCred. And so excited to be on. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for being here, and happy to have somebody from the company actually present too. So Ryan and I are both in Charlotte, so we'd love to be able to meet you at some point and kind of get together, hopefully at one of the mug meetings when they come up next in the area here.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go into our feature presentation right away and really give you a chance to understand who the panelists are that are at this. So we're going to go into the name, the position. Would you each talk a little bit about, just for 2 or 3 minutes, about your company backgrounds, the industries you're responsible for, and what does success mean in your department? So what are you ultimately trying to be able to? I mean, sales is ultimately, I think, the goal for all of us, I think. But before that, right? What does success mean to you? What do you celebrate? Is it product demos? Is it reseller agreements that are signed? Is it just straight up consumer purchases is what your benchmark is for success? And then a little bit about your personal background. So how did you wind up in this line of work? And what are you currently learning right now? So if you can do it in 2 or 3 minutes, we'd love to hear from you. So the first person that we have is Ryan. Go ahead.
I will say, Michael, that seems like a lot to pack into 2 or 3 minutes, but I'll give it a try. But hi, everyone. Ryan Worden. I am the global digital strategist at Sealed Air Corporation. We're a packaging company. We operate in the packaging and containers industry, and we really have 2 main lines of business. One's in the food packaging industry, where we're manufacturing equipment, films, and packaging materials for food products. And then the second would be in protective packaging, where we're manufacturing equipment and materials to protect those valuable goods that are being shipped around the world. There is a very good chance that all of you have used Sealed Air products over the course of your lifetime. The most recognizable one being bubble wrap. Now, whether you've actually used that for packaging applications or your own entertainment may be a different story, but we have that in our product portfolio. And then also, maybe most recently over Thanksgiving, the vacuum sealed packaging that your turkeys came in is also another one of Sealed Air's products. But we have a broad portfolio, sort of a wide variety of industries and verticals across the globe. So,
great.
what were some of the next one, Michael?
Yeah, how did you wind up getting into this role? So, what, did you come out of college and go say, I'm going to just focus on marketing automation? Or?
I don't think that's happened with anybody in marketing automation. This is actually one of my favorite questions to ask when I go to the Marketo Summit or any of the digital events around, because I don't think most people in digital marketing ended up there out of college because they wanted to pursue that. I mean, I just kind of fell into it. I have heard numerous stories from other people that have also kind of fell into that role. I was in finance at the time and just really wasn't enjoying it. No offense to any of the finance folks. It's obviously critical, but it was not the department for me. Ended up finding a role in the marketing department. My first week there, my manager came in and dropped the definitive guide to marketing automation on my desk. And this is back when it was about an inch thick, the spiral bound definitive guide that you would sift through, and just kind of asked me what I thought about it. I had never heard of Marketo prior to that. So kind of picked it up and started learning it on the go there. Since I've been through 3 implementations now, I've been using the tool for about 5 or 6 years. Many successes and wins, and probably way more low points and failures. But those are kind of the things you learn from along the way, and how I've progressed through Marketo to this point.
Nice. Okay, lots of questions I have based off of that. But let's go to our next one is Carissa. Go ahead, take it away. So tell us about yourself and how you got into the role, and what your business is. What do you do, and what's success mean for you, for your industry, your business specifically in marketing automation?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So my name is Carissa Russell. I am the marketing technologist at Current, powered by GE. A lot of people ask me what our company does, because a lot of people don't know, but we're basically the B2B side of GE Lighting. So we're really a software and technology company and also a lighting manufacturer. We sell lighting fixtures with sensor networks for like smart cities and smart buildings. And we have like software management with apps that kind of enable different things. I'm not sure if you guys have seen some of the recent press on San Diego, but they are one of our flagship smart cities. So all of our sensor technology is in the street lights. And one of my favorite apps is ShotSpotter. I think it's so cool. It can do gunshot detection and send it to emergency services so they can locate and know the exact time that was fired. So there's a lot of stuff like crowd control in that, and even within buildings, asset management and that is really cool. So, that's primarily what we do and why we're classified a little bit more as a software company. What success looks like for our marketing ops is, I think it boils down to ROI, which it does for a lot of people, but we have a variety of KPIs, which is, acquiring quality leads specifically from strategic accounts, and then driving some growth in target areas of our business. So, verticals or sub-verticals that we've been given that, we really need to gain more traction in. That's definitely one of our big KPIs. And inside the company, we have directives to work with other data controllers, like the Salesforce team in that, to make sure that, our data is, our marketing data is integrated in all of our business analytics reports, and that all of our technology that we have plugged into Marketo is not just serving marketing, but if it can help other departments like our customer, I forget the name exactly, but it's basically like the customer happiness group. Okay. They plot the journey and they make sure that they're happy. So, Marketo has actually been a great help for them too, because we can really track those things for them.
Very cool. Now, did you, what was coming out of college and kind of the career path prior to Marketo? Did do you have Marketo when you got to Current by GE? What was that all about?
Yeah, so I started out as a web developer, and I was more technically minded. So, I was primarily a front end, but I also worked really closely with back end and did some light back end programming. When I was brought into GE over 5 years ago, I had no idea what marketing automation was. I was brought in to work on the website and also implement Marketo. I had no idea what that actually meant when they hired me. But I really found that marketing automation is where my heart is. It's just my skill set. I love data. I love data management. It's such a powerful thing to be able to connect, that person signing up on the website to an actual sale in the company, and Marketo is kind of the key for that for us. So it's definitely where I plan to stay, as long as it's, the new hotness of technology.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Thanks for that. Okay. And then last but certainly not least, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about Lennox International, what you guys are doing with Marketo. Jennifer, are you there?
Sorry, I muted myself.
That's okay. Happens all the time.
So my name is Jennifer Morris. I'm with Lennox. I work on the residential side. My team is kind of the centerpiece of a lot of different functional teams within Lennox. I mentioned earlier, I support 15 functional units across residential, commercial, and international. And part of that support is through our e-commerce, through our 220 retail stores. I support product commercializations. Also a big initiative is lead generation and business development. So I also manage a lead generation microsite, learnlennox.com, and that's where we attract our potential new dealers to come in. If you're not familiar with Lennox, we sell HVAC equipment. So heating and air, it's a very stable industry to be in. That's why it's kind of like, I'm very, being here, I've learned it's a super stable industry. So if you have a family or anything like that, it's kind of difficult for me to like persuade myself to look elsewhere just because it is so stable. It's kind of recession proof. So yeah, so we do a number of things. My team, I have a team of about 10 people. We have graphic designers, I have developers, 3 email specialists, project manager. We do a lot of different things. We're very high volume. It's a lot of complications. When you talk about measuring success, that's why I said success looks different for every functional team. So at the inception of every campaign, one of the things I absolutely mandate is what is our benchmark for success? What are our KPIs? I need to make sure that I can measure each campaign that it was effective. Otherwise, when you have 1,600 campaigns like we executed last year, I want to cut and work as lean as possible. So for e-commerce, it may be revenue, for our training department, it may be class registrations. So I'm all about looking at the data as well. It's kind of, being that marketing creative person, but then also being a data scientist and studying trends with how are people engaging, who are people engaging. We have so many segments within Lennox, just externally. It makes it very interesting to see those trends. A big thing that we do here on every campaign, we execute a hindsight review. So I'm looking at revenue attribution, I'm looking at clicks, I'm looking at open rates, all of our metrics across the board. We do a lot of A/B testing with subject line, with creative, with content. We're constantly testing for to achieve optimal results. So lots of different things. We also our team also manages an event website, and we also provide app support. So marketing automation for Lennox is a very broad team, and we cover many different areas.
That's great. Yeah, that's it's so rich. I'm so glad that you were able to join us, and all of you were able to join us, of course. So I hope everybody in the audience is kind of seeing across the board. I dare say that probably most, if not all, of the functionalities of Marketo are represented between all the different marketing programs that this group entails. So I'm really interested to hear that. But one last thing, Jennifer, what was your career path like coming into the marketing automation role? What did you do before you were in this line of work, I guess?
Yeah, so I first started my marketing career in 2010. I've always been in the B2B environment. So I would say that finding kind of, I think that as a marketer, when you first start out, you wear a lot of different hats, and it's kind of like the Harry Potter sorting hat, and so you put that hat on, you're like, oh, I'm house marketing automation. And so, you know, even at the earliest point in my career, I was doing marketing automation in its simplest form. I was using Constant Contact, Mailer, and that's how I started kind of getting comfortable until I kind of, you know, got into the more advanced platforms. And so once I realized what I was really good at, it kind of eliminated the things that I was not good at. And so I knew what my focus and my discipline should be. And so from there and from just, you know, I always tell my team that marketing automation, it's like applying the scientific method every day to what we do. And of course, I thought when I was signing up and majoring in multimedia design and development and marketing that I wouldn't have to do science or math at all. I was totally wrong. So I incorporate it every day, but it's perfect because, you know, I've found my strong point. I found my strength. And so that's kind of how I evolved into this. So always have done a lot of different things. Obviously, my background's in web dev. So I think that a lot of people kind of have that background and then they just kind of find their niche. So that's how it came to be. Like I said, I've always done B2B. I've worked for Schneider Electric in the past. I worked for a forensic engineering company. I used to work for in the finance, which I can relate to Ryan. It was very bland. There's a lot of red tape with marketing for a finance institution. So I got out of that real quick.
Right.
But I'm very happy with where I am right now.
Nice. That's great, guys. Well, again, appreciate all that. So let's kick off into our discussion a little bit. Before we do that, we have a couple of polls set up for the audience members, and we want to get a better sense of who's in the audience. What do you want to hear as part of this discussion today? As we have a myriad of different topics. A lot of things happened in the space in 2018, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in some of the topics. But first, tell us about yourselves. So I'm going to launch this poll here to begin with, and hopefully all the audience can participate in this. And we want to know what topics you'd like to hear about. So data governance, Marketo programs, their marketing organizations themselves. So we had a conversation yesterday about what does marketing operations mean, and that was very different from each person. Professional development is kind of an early leader here we're seeing, and lead generation. So some of the different topics that are on here. So leave that open for a minute. If all of you could please answer that. And then the second question that's in this as well is what type of marketing are you involved with? So it's interesting actually, guys, to pull up some of the responses. I looked up all of those NAICS codes to talk about industry classifications. And wow, there's a lot of subsets. It surprised me. I mean, I guess it didn't surprise me. I knew them, but when you really dive into it, you talk about food manufacturing, or you talk about you talk about some of the industrial manufacturing that happens to be able to run manufacturing altogether. There's quite a group that's there. So we'll let this run for a little bit. We're starting to see some results come in right now. And then we'll start publishing this for a second so everybody can kind of see it here. So let me run it for another 10 seconds. 9, 8, and we're just about ready to go. So we'll cut it off at a minute 30. All right. So let's show the results here and see what we see. So it looks like lead generation is the big one. That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure a lot of people there. Data governance, GDPR coming into this year was a huge one. And then the other thing that I had too, I don't know if a lot of people remember this, but Mark Zuckerberg being sent up to Capitol Hill to talk about data governance in the social media space was a big conversation this year too. So irrespective of the politics, there's certainly a lot to talk about there in terms of marketing data governance. And then professional development, which I think we touched on today as well too. So it looks like a lot of people manufacturing our technology and consumer goods both seem to be pretty high up there now. And so a lot of great discussions to have and all of that. So is that good for everybody in the panel? Do you guys have any questions that kind of come from those right now that I think all those are explanatory? Does that all sound good to all of you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So let me turn this off for a second here. So the first section that I've got in here, then let me go back to the slides for a second, is really just to talk a little bit more about, let's go to the professional development side of things. And let's talk a little bit more about about the history of your Marketo implementation. So I don't know if all of you know this. I mean, sometimes Marketo is there before you are, or I've certainly been my case as a consultant. But why did the company need Marketo in the first place? You know, could each of you maybe talk about that? Let's go with Carissa to begin with. I think you've been through some interesting things in the lifespan of your Marketo instance.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we didn't really have a very robust email marketing platform, and our CRM was Oracle. And so when I was coming on, they were migrating into Salesforce and decided to launch Marketo as well. So, you know, before we didn't really have much. And I would say, you know, when we started using Marketo, we didn't really have any idea of what the product itself was capable of. So we've definitely grown into it a lot. You know, when we started out, we had an implementation firm help us kind of set it up, and they really just set us in the right direction. They evaluated our business needs. You know, they set up multiple workspaces so we could operate globally, which ended up being the very right decision, confirmed, you know, over years later. And then, you know, as we started building it and making some big mistakes, because I think that always happens when you're starting Marketo, somebody gets blasted with 300 email alerts. Oops. But, you know, you go through these growing pains. I think we've really kind of hit some great potential in the last couple years, especially. I think this year was a flagship. Marketo is responsible for some of our best lead generation in the demand generation team across the board. You know, and I know it's one of the other questions, but since the poll said that they wanted to hear, I think something I wanted to highlight is at the beginning of the year, we implemented on 24. We integrated it with Marketo and brought it in, and it has been hands down one of the most successful lead generation tools we have on our team. You know, we host regular webinars. It's been really great for hitting those target job titles and the target audience that we're going for. And it's got great interaction and engagement. And even with marketing the on-demand afterwards, it's been a really, really huge win for us this year.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Hey, Carissa, there was a question in here around the group that you worked with. Was that called Revenue Pulse? Jeff was asking.
Yeah, it was actually the Pedowitz group. So they were an older partner, but they still do a lot of implementations. And they did a month-long workshop with the marketing business leaders and really kind of defined our personas and our segmentations and kind of set us up, you know, gave us that really quick head start.
Nice. Jennifer, when I came across your organization doing this, I think there was a press release. I think that Marketo had released that Lennox was going to start using the software, and I don't believe that was too long ago. When did you guys start using Marketo inside of the organization? Were you there?
Yep. So I want to say it was about 2015, 2016, and I came in April of last year. So, you know, I came in and just kind of, I'm a mover and a shaker. I move very quickly. And I would say that the one thing that people need to think about, you know, when you integrate systems, this is not a set it and forget it. Right. And when you work for an international company where there's multiple teams, so we have multiple systems integration, we have SAP, we have Salesforce.com, we have Hybris, we have multiple systems at play. Data integrity becomes a very major issue. Duplication of contacts. There's also, we have a master data team, and so they create these customer basically customer codes, right? And so one of the things that, you know, come to play is when you set things up and you do your field mapping, you know, I was reviewing actually all of the fields from Salesforce to Marketo the other day, and I was looking at 31 pages. Mm-hmm. So when you do that syncing, you know, you need to be cleansing and saying, is this even relevant data to push into Marketo? And also, you know, when you're building forms and you think about that bidirectional syncing, you always have to kind of play devil's advocate with yourself of, okay, what are the negative risks associated with creating a form and then just forgetting about it? You know, there's a lot of things that I've kind of had to go and scrub through because it was, you know, when Lennox got Marketo, we didn't have a marketing automation manager. So it was essentially done by our sales effectiveness team. We had some IT help, and then we had an e-commerce manager kind of helping put things together. So when I got here, I was like, whoa, let's, you know, really look at everything and kind of scrub through things. So, you know, data integrity, all of that kind of stuff when it comes to those systems integrations, I kind of joke around and say I'm constantly living in an onion because I feel like I'm peeling back the layers and I'm finding these things. And it will literally go all the way, you know, I'll trace the rabbit holes back to our SAP, and it's just all of these things when you start building multiple platforms that connect, you know, you constantly have to look at what are the negative risks when we have multiple feeds of data streams. And it kind of is like, you know, it's a lot to kind of think about. So the one, yeah.
I was just saying, as you're peeling the onion, are there parts of it where that just make you want to cry when you kind of get across it? What's the hardest part of that?
There is, because, you know, there's like a certain level of like responsibility, you know, that one must take when they're, you know, introducing a new environment or a new ecosystem of data. And so, you know, I constantly do that with myself. So I see a question. It's Jennifer, did you build a successful integration with hybrid commerce, Marketo, or a workaround? So that's a great question. One of the things that we look at today is one of the things we're currently not doing are like abandoned shopping cart emails. So when I got here, you know, the e-commerce team, it's a very big team, and historically what they were doing is, you know, they'd send us the creatives, they'd send us their segmentation, they'd, you know, and we weren't really that partner, and I was kind of hands off. It's kind of a territorial area. And so right now we're kind of trying to bust down some of those silos. So we're looking at, right now it's a workaround. Essentially what I'm saying is, hey, let's kind of scrap what we're doing for e-com and really put together some good e-com strategies that we know are tried and true, like those abandoned shopping cart emails, life cycle automation. So if someone's not purchasing in a month, you know, we hit them up. It's a very interesting and kind of complex situation, because if you think about it, e-commerce and B2B, that's really kind of a consumer world. So you're taking that B2B environment and kind of making it be kind of that B2C environment. So there's a lot of things that we're doing right now technology-wise so that we can eliminate the need for list uploads, because you can imagine we're not connected to Hybris, we're connected to Salesforce.com. So, you know, Lennox Pros, our e-com platform, is kind of pushing some data into SAP and Salesforce.com, and it's one of those beautiful things that we're kind of working on right now, so that we can have.
Do you run into conflicts between the two then, as you're passing data between SAP, Salesforce, and Marketo? Then that's all happening together into what's the record of truth and across that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's what we're trying to work on. So essentially, the record of truth is SAP.
Okay.
Because that's where all of the transactional data comes from. But the contact information, so we have TM accounts, right? Like our field, our accounts managed by salespeople, and then we have our cash customers who are more kind of like our, you know, they're going to our retail stores, they're buying on our e-com sites, and there can be like this kind of crossover mix right there. Mm-hmm. And so essentially what we're working on right now is being able to have the technology in place. So this means coordinating with technology teams, being able for me to identify how is my team currently having to, you know, export data from Hybris, you know, purchasing behavior and things like that, so that we can upload it to Marketo. I need to be able to see all that transactional data in Marketo, right? So that I can segment by, if this person purchased, you know, 100 to 1,000, they're going to get this promotion. If this person purchased 2,000 to 3,000, they're going to get this promotion. Right now, we don't have that. So those are some of the gaps that we're trying to bridge. And, you know, it's very complex. And so when a lot of people, other business initiatives that are also equally important, I find myself having to make the business case as to why this is important, the downstream impact of uploading lists, dirtying data, having you know, a single source of truth, and why that's so important. So sorry, I didn't mean to get on a.
No, it's okay. Let me jump to Ryan here for a second. Now, you know, at the time we're recording this, we're a week after Black Friday, and in the you know, the packaging business, is this your biggest time of the year? You know, what as you're kind of sifting through your Marketo instance, do you get any time to sleep right now, or does that kind of happen in January, or what
Yeah, the thing with that is if companies and organizations are looking now to stock up for the holidays and Black Friday, they're probably about 6 months too late. So right around mid-year is when we'll see that big wave come and people trying to prepare for the holiday season and make sure they have that supply of packaging materials that they need.
Okay. And so what does your organization then kind of look like, in terms of planning for this point in time, just at this point in time of the year? Are you kind of looking at 2019 right now and kind of saying, okay, what do we need to gear up for that? And probably, before we get there, what does your organization look like? Like where do you fit on an org chart?
Yeah, so I feel like our organization's pretty unique in the way that Marketo's set up and owned. Our marketing automation function is actually owned by our corporate communications team, and we have a demand generation wing that kind of sits within that team and acts as a center of excellence across our organization. So our team would be driving that overall governance, maintenance, user adoption. And then we're working with a wide group of stakeholders across the organization in various different departments. We have our super users that live within those divisions in that marketing activity section, building the programs, building the assets and campaigns. They're likely working with our product marketing teams, our marketing communications teams, and our designers to acquire those different campaign assets. And we also have our marketing ops function that's in Marketo, pulling those analytics and looking at attribution data. And over the past year, we've been trying to get to that point where everything is connected and eliminating those data silos. So IT is probably sick of hearing from us by now, but we have partnered with them very frequently to get some of those customized integrations where some of those more technical skills were required, or just get the right people involved from their side too. So we're working with a broad group all across the organization whenever it comes to marketing automation. There's a lot of people involved.
Very cool, guys. There's so much to talk about. I want to respect everybody's time too, so I think we should probably move on to the next subject. But I feel like all three of you are people that I think we need one session for each of you, and if you're willing to do that some point in 2019, I think we could dive into how you're using the platform individually and have quite a few discussions there. Let me pull up the slides for a second. I think the next thing I really want to kind of get into a little bit more is just macroeconomically, let's talk about 2019 or 2018 and kind of the year that was. Lots of stuff happening in current events wise. Were all of you at Summit? Who wasn't at Summit this year?
I didn't go this year.
Jennifer,
I did.
You did? Okay. Great. Yeah. My very first Marketo Summit, have had other representatives, and this is my first year working for myself, but I've always had other representatives in the organization to attend that I've been in. And it was great. I really I learned a lot. I got to meet a lot of people. I met Joe Wright for the first time, who, by the way, looks exactly like he looks on YouTube. So that was really big, and it's kind of a personal hero of mine for everything that I learned from his content. So, hi, Joe. Thanks for everything. Then I think the big thing was too is getting to talk about the Visible acquisition was probably the biggest one this year. I'd imagine all of you use attribution in different stages. Carissa, I'm really interested in your organization, how you guys do it. I mean, your target audience, is it mostly government stakeholders? It's niche, isn't it? Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, so it's all B2B, but so we work with like Amazon, JP Morgan Chase. We work with a lot of government clients, which has a completely different marketing subset because they have to do a lot of extra things for compliance. So this is a government thing. But yeah, probably some of our biggest ones that you guys would recognize are like JP Morgan Chase and like Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so to be able to kind of handle that attribution with that, are you doing that just within Marketo? Do you use Visible as well, or do you use other tools to be able to help you to kind of track that?
So we did look at visible. It was really kind of out of our marketing budget, just because of the sheer amount of data that we needed to pull together. So what we actually do is we rely both on, Marketo, which I like to look at as marketing Salesforce, because it carries all that in-depth activity data and all that digital stuff that we want to report on. And then we also pull out of Salesforce, which contains that really in-depth revenue data. So we take the data out of both of those systems and we combine them and make custom dashboards in Tableau.
Okay, really interesting. Really interesting. From the from your side, Ryan, what does attribution look like at Sealed Air? What's the are you doing that at all?
Yeah, I would say we're pretty early on in our overall marketing maturity when it comes to lifecycle tracking and overall attribution modeling. I guess just for context, when I first came into the company, we were just getting Marketo on board. It's been about 2.5 years now, but happening in parallel with that, we were also launching a new CRM. So we kind of had to wait for those two projects to get to a point where we could integrate the two to get that full circle ROI. We're absolutely doing the first half of the buying journey from acquisition up until MQL in Marketo, tracking some of that first touch attribution through Marketo and some of those lead sources there. But we're very, very excited for our CRM integration to launch into production so we can start to look at that second half of the buying journey and look at some of the multi-touch attribution metrics.
Yeah. I've got a client now that opportunity influence analyzer, I think for them, from a Marketo standpoint, I mean, irrespective of the Salesforce one, right, to be able to see what those Marketo programs are doing to your Salesforce opportunities or to your CRM opportunities is quite an insight there. Jennifer, let me ask you. So on it's the residential side of Lennox that you're working with, right? And do you work with social media at all? Is that in your marketing communications bailiwick from an automation standpoint?
No, we have an entirely different team. The only area that I do manage is we are ramping up a B2B Learn Lennox LinkedIn. So, I'm primarily if I had to give you guys two, specific roles that I have, it's managing all the communications we do across the board and then lead generation. So there's a whole nother team that does the consumer side of social media marketing. But right now what we're doing is, with all the lead, we have operational lead scoring, and right now my team is focused on inbound marketing with our Learn Lennox site. And so the whole purpose there is to create content for that site to attract new opportunities. But our scoring is very granular, and we have a lot of engagement programs tied off to how people even fill out the form. And it's been probably a year-long process of sitting down with sales team, our new business team, understanding how they do their opportunity scorecard in Salesforce, and then creating scoring off of, each question that we ask on a lead gen form.
Okay, great. We're running a little short on time, so what I want to do is, if we can, just want really quickly, just want each of you to touch on data governance, and that was a huge issue this year, right? That GDPR thing, I think everybody was really kind of going, the deadline's what June? Oh, okay, how do I get to that really quickly? And I think a lot of us were having discussions. Remember, a lot of the summit presentations were on here's how we're going to do it. And I think people are getting answers to that now. But what did that conversation look like when those deadlines came up for each of your organizations? Is it an issue now? I don't know how many of you operate in Europe or not, or if you're, is the California law that they were looking at some point, did that impact you in terms of, was there a discussion at any point in your businesses on that? Let's go with Ryan first.
I feel like the whole first half of this year was just GDPR related. But yeah, it was a huge initiative for us. We spent a lot of time just strategizing and trying to create those operational programs in Marketo to automatically identify those contacts coming in from those specific geos that required consent. We actually set it up in such a way where if it was coming from Canada, we had them segmented. If they were coming from the EU or any region affected by GDPR, they were segmented into their own bucket, and then obviously the U.S. and other regions as well had their own specific buckets. But we had that set up, made sure we were getting consent, had the marketable versus unmarketable segmentations automatically set up. But from there, even prior in Q1, we were running those permission pass campaigns in order to obtain that consent from those affected by GDR where we didn't explicitly have consent documented already. So yeah, like I said, I feel like the very first half of this year was all GDPR, both in my inbox and in phone calls and also in the project we were working through.
Yeah, I bet. Carissa, what did you guys do for that?
Yeah, so kind of a plug for the local mugs, but I am lucky enough to have, a lot of professionals in the Cleveland mug, and they did a lot of work prepared. We're lucky enough to have like Dan Stevens. I don't know if you've seen him on the community. He was posted a lot around GDPR. We were lucky enough to have him in our mug. So we had a couple presentations of what other businesses in the area were doing. We have a lot of global enterprise companies. And it was a huge help. So, we had that. We had the summit with some really great presentations. Then we also had an internal, which was a little bit later than I would have liked to see it. I think, just being active in the Marketo community, you get exposed to it a lot earlier. So we kind of knew it was coming and had those red flags popping. But, and then we had a GE initiative internally where, it was led with compliance and legal. So it really came upon, taking that opt-in governance and making sure that, we're reporting everything to compliance.
Yeah. By the way, Dan, personal hero of mine, my main manufacturing client is using workspaces and partitions. So please shake his hand for me and just say thank you.
I'll tell him you said hi.
Yeah. Jennifer, what did you, data governance, with the organization your size, right? That must be quite varied by department to department. How did that work when GDPR came down the pipes this year? Were you planning for that already? Had you been working on it in 2017 to be able to kind of make to get ready for that?
Well, fortunately, most of our email marketing is U.S. and Canada. So I'm not having to, thank God. When I worked for Schneider, I did international campaigns. So I didn't have to worry too much, but in any doubt, we have our legal department, and I really lean on them. I also leaned on our Marketo customer success manager to just make sure that we, dotted our I's, crossed our T's. But fortunately for us, it didn't really impact us that much.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's for time's sake, again, talk on all these topics in great depth, but let's jump it over to Taylor actually, and just kickstart the audience discussion. And before we do that, I know we're at the hour here. If there's people that need to leave, understandable. But we're also going to pause the recording at this point in time. It's brand new. The reason why we're doing this is so that we can get into more discussions if there's sensitive information that anybody in the audience wants to be able to ask or talk about. Again, this is for broadcast, and we, just want to keep that in mind. So if you are hearing this on recording, I really appreciate your time, and definitely will have some thank you slides at the end of this. And so I'm going to turn off the recording right now and then hand it over to Taylor to kind of get going on this. So how do I pause the recording? Okay, so we're back and we're resuming the recording. And again, just as I just said, so thank you again for all the discussions. It was really interesting. A lot of good engagement with that too. And just wonderful to hear from all of you and kind of the dynamic discussion on that. And so if you want to be a part of that, and then again, we look forward to seeing you in January and in the next section of the manufacturing Marketo user group. And before we end off here, I just want to say, what we usually end here is thank you for coming to our virtual user group, and may all guests who enter leave as friends is what I always try to leave here. So definitely consider all of you that way and colleagues. And if you have questions, if you are working through different issues or different challenges in your marketing organizations, post that up in the community. We'd love to be able to talk with you and to be able to help and support you. And likewise, I post a lot on there, and looking forward to kind of hearing back from you as well as I'm running through questions and getting issues. And certainly I've had a lot of help over the years from the community, and the least we can do is be able to give back a little bit. So again, thank you all, and really much appreciated, and hope you have a wonderful weekend. If we don't talk to you beforehand, have yourselves a wonderful holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate, and we look forward to seeing you in 2019. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor. Bye.
Bye, guys.